Hi guys, welcome to this lesson, which is the basic PGN piano chord lesson. Now, the reason I'm making this lesson is because as of today, I'm launching a new teaching method, and in that method, I'm teaching each song by also explaining the chord structure, and therefore, it's nice if you have some knowledge about chords. Apart from that, if you just want to learn more about chords, feel free to watch this lesson as well, of course. Now, a lot of people are a bit afraid of chords, or they think it's scary or difficult. And I used to be one of them back in the day when I started to learn to play the piano, but since then I've realized how incredibly useful they are. So what I'm going to teach you in this lesson, I'm going to teach you what chords are, I'm going to teach you what chord progressions are. I'm not going to teach you specific chords per se, because I'm doing that in all of the lessons. I'm also teaching you over 100 chords in my PGN piano theory course, which you can find in the description box down below. That's a really long course, and it will teach you all the stuff you need to know about playing chords and playing songs quickly using chords, etc. But in this video, I just want to explain the concept, and then in all of my lessons on this channel right here, I'm filling in the blanks for you. So there's not really a point in explaining you over 100 chords in this lesson, since for most songs you just need to know 4. So I'd rather teach you those 4 in the actual lesson for the song, if that makes sense. So before we start, just to clear up, you can find over 250, maybe 300 lessons on the YouTube channel right here. If you want to learn specific songs, right now I'm going to teach you something about chords. So first of all, what is a chord? A chord is basically a package of a few notes, a combination of a few notes. You could say they are the ingredients for a certain sound. If you want to make an omelette, maybe you take some eggs, tomatoes and mushrooms and mix them all together. And it's the same with a song. You could take a C, a G and an E, put them together, and you get a nice blend of sounds. So chords always consists of a minimum of 3 notes. There's chords with 3, 4, 5, and in very rare cases even 6 or more notes. But basically all you need to learn about is chords with 3 or maybe 4 notes, and they'll be good, at least for the beginning. So let me show you the most basic chord in piano. Right here, the C chord, which is C, E and G. So by playing the notes individually, you just have individual notes, but by combining them you actually have this sound right here, which is what we call C. Now there's a lot of different chords, like we have C, we've got C minor, okay, this is C major, C minor, you know, we've got 7 chords, etc. But you don't really have to worry about that for now. All you need to know is a chord is a combination of a few notes played together, and that's basically what I'm going to be talking about in my lessons as well. So now that you've quickly learned what a chord is, I'm going to show you 4 basic chords on the top of the screen. So the first one is C, which is the one we just played. C, E and G. The next one is going to be D, which is D, F sharp, A. Okay, so we have C and D. The next one is going to be E minor, E, G, B, right here. And the final one is G, G, B, D. Okay, so these are the 4 chords up top. We've got C, D, E minor, and G. Okay, it doesn't really matter which chords these are, I just picked a few of them. But what does matter is that in the lessons I'm teaching you the exact correct chords for that song, because each song has a certain combination of chords, which is the recipe for that song. So most of the songs, especially pop songs, are made up out of 4 chords, and people keep on playing these chords right after each other. So for instance, if we have our 4 chords right here, we could be just playing and go back to the beginning, and you actually get a kind of song. Okay? And as you progress through these chords, what you get is a chord progression. So a chord progression is nothing more or less than just a couple of chords played right after each other. And the nice thing about the progression is it continues back, so you can actually loop it. So you could have, like in this case, C, D, E minor, G. This would be our chord progression, and we move back to the beginning, C, D, E minor, G. Now it doesn't matter if we play one chord just once, twice, 4 times and then move on to the next one. As long as we move on from one to the next, to the next, to the next set of notes, we are in a chord progression. So you could also play every chord twice. the chord progression is still the same: C, D, E minor, G. So now you know what a chord is and what a chord progression is. I want to be talking about chord inversions, and I realize I'm going through this rather quick, but I just want to give you some basic theory, so when you actually start watching my piano lessons, you will exactly know what's going on right there. You will see those chords in the top, you will see that they're in a certain order, and you will hear me play the chords in that certain order, and therefore understand that I'm simply playing a chord progression. Now, the reason chord progressions are so interesting is that if you remember the chord progression, let's say in this case C, D, E, G, all you need to do in order to remember to play this song is C, D, E, G. Once you know those 4 letters, you could just sit at the piano and play this song. Now, sometimes we're not just playing chords, we're playing notes in between as well, and that might complicate things a little bit, but the chord progression will always be there. So even though you're moving about a little bit, playing other notes than are in the chords, than those that are in the chords, your left hand accompanying will probably still be in the chord. So when the left hand is joining in as well, you could be playing something simple like this, and the left hand will basically be playing octaves, which is the same note twice. So a C here and a C there would make up an octave, a D here and a D there make up a D octave, E and E is an E octave, and G is a G octave. Now what you'll notice is that the octave has the same name as the chord in this case. So we have a C chord with a C octave. Surprise, surprise. Then we have a D chord with a D octave, an E chord with an E octave, and a G chord with a G octave. So by now it should start to make a little bit more sense what we're actually doing on the piano. We're not just playing a random amount of notes. There's actually some kind of structure here. So we have the chord and a matching octave. Now you could also be playing a note in between, this one right here, and guess what? It's also part of the chord. So C, E, G is our C chord, and look, you can find the G in both chords, and that's why it really sounds so nice. If I play something else, well, it sounds kind of cool, but it sounds different, right? So this really sounds nice, it harmonizes, and that's because we have the same notes basically in the left and the right hand. Okay, if I then move up, D, A, D, D, F sharp, A. So we have D and A in both hands. Yes, E and B in both hands, and G, G and D in both hands. So that left hand is not just playing some random notes and then the right hand is playing something. If your right hand is playing vocals, your left hand is usually playing notes that are actually borrowed from the chord. So for instance, you could be playing something like this. Okay, where that left hand is basically putting in the structure. I'm just playing some random stuff here in the right hand, by the way, but that left hand is putting in the structure of the chords and the right hand is basically improvising, and this is what we see in pop songs. You've got the instrumental part playing the chords, and then the one singing is just singing some random notes. Of course, they're not random, but they're not necessarily notes that belong to the chords. So what I'm basically trying to say here is that it's not just a random bunch of notes here. The left hand is actually borrowing notes from those chords. Whether you play the chords in the right hand or in the left hand, they're always somewhere, because most songs are based on a chord progression. So with all of the chords coming by, that left hand would change. We would start on a C chord and move to a D chord, yes, and then finally the G. So the chords are always there, even though you cannot see them, they're still there and being played. Okay, so now that you know that chords exist, you may not know a lot of chords, or you may not even know one, but at least you know that they exist, and it's nothing scary. It's just a combination of notes played at the same time, or sometimes not even at the same time, but in the same period of time. And you know about chord progressions, which simply means 4 chords after each other. Okay, if you want to see the chords as ingredients for a meal, then you might see a chord progression as a 4-course dinner. So let's say you start with an amuse-bouche, and then you get a pre-course, your main course, and a dessert. And then the next day you get in the restaurant, you don't start at the dessert, you get back again, pre-course, main course, dessert. Yes? So, ingredients of the courses and chord progression. The final thing I want to tell you about in this video is chord inversions. And I know that might be a little bit confusing, but what's really important to understand is that a chord is a combination of notes, and it doesn't matter where you play the notes on the piano. Okay, so you could be playing a C right here, an E right here, and let me see if I can get that. Yeah, ooh, shit. A G right there, yeah, and this is still a C chord. So basically, this is a C chord, but this would be a C chord as well, even though it sounds a little bit different. That's only one package with these three notes in them, C, E, and G, and that is called the C chord. Now, what's important to understand is that when we're playing a chord and when I'm showing these chords in the top screen, I'm always showing the chords in root position. Now, root position means that the name of the chord, let's say a C chord, that C is going to be on the left of the chord. Okay, so a C chord would always have C and then E, G in root position. So something like this would still be C, but it's not in root position because it's basically scrambled on the piano. So what we want to see is the name of the chord. It's a C chord, so we want to see that C at the bottom, and then the rest of the chord to the right. Yes? Name of the chord on the left, rest of the chord stacked on top to the right. So the D chord would naturally start on that D. Okay? An E minor chord, doesn't matter if it's E major, E minor, it would start on the E. A G chord would start on the G. Okay? That is in root position. That's what we call root position. So you could have B flat, or A flat minor, A flat major, F sharp, it doesn't really matter. Whichever note you call out, if it's B flat, it starts on the B flat. If it's A flat, it starts on the A flat. If it's F sharp, it starts on the F sharp. That is the root position. Now, chords with three notes have three basic possibilities. We have root position, which is this one. We could also get rid of the C right here and move that to the top. Okay, that is what we call first inversion. So, root position, get rid of the bottom note, place it on top, first inversion. It's still a C chord, but we've just played it in a different order, E, G, C instead of C, E, G. And then we could get rid of the E and put that on top, and we have the second inversion. Now you might be wondering, Mark, what about the third inversion? Well, let's have a look. Release the G, put it on top. Ah, look, we're back at root position again because right now the C is at the bottom. Okay, so root position, first inversion, second inversion, and root position. If that makes sense. You can do that for all chords, especially three-note chords are pretty easy with the first and second inversion. And the reason I like to use different inversions is when I play this little chord progression of ours, we're moving up, 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 and I might not like that sound of everything going up. So I may want to keep the notes a little bit more here. So I could go there, or I could even go here. Okay, keeping everything nice and tight. So I would put C in root position, D in second inversion. Look, we started out here on D, move it to the top, second inversion, and then I could do E minor, also in second inversion. Look, we started out here, there, second inversion, and then G major, I might put that in first inversion right there. So we get that, and it sounds a lot nicer than this little bit right here. So right now we have this. Okay, That's what you can do with inversions. Now again, in every song, in every lesson I make here, I'm going to explain three things to you. First, which notes are in the chords and what is the name of that chord. So you don't have to worry about that at all because you will learn that in every single lesson. Second, what is the chord progression? How many times do you play each chord? Which order? When do you need to play them? I also explained that in the lesson. Third, what is the inversion of the chords? So I'm not just saying you need to play these notes, I'm also telling you in which order you need to play them. So I'm not going to say, it's C, E minor, G, D, and you figure out the rest. No, I'm actually going to tell you it's C, and then it could be D in first inversion. I'm going to show you what it is, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So you don't need to worry about anything if you don't really understand this. I just wanted to show you what it's all about and that you can recognize it in the lessons. But if you still don't know any of the chords so you can't remember them, that's fine. You will be able to do so once you watch the actual lessons for the songs. So this mainly applies to the easy lessons because it's just chords in the easy lessons, but it also applies for the original and the original vocal lessons because we are going to see those chords as I showed you right here. We are going to see patterns of these chords emerging in the left hand and sometimes in the right hand. So this was just a brief introduction for chords. If you want to learn more about piano theory, about all of the notes, inversions, chord progressions, scales, intervals, all that kind of stuff, have a look in the description box down below. And for now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure to stay subscribed to the channel and go ahead and pick out a nice song you want to learn and start playing and have some fun. I will see you there. Bye bye.